You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Looking to upgrade your league trophy? Check out fantasyjocks.com for championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Sports Fix listeners, don't wait all day or all week to get in on the fun. The party doesn't stop when we go off the air all week long. The Sports Fix social media sites are your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports. Jump over to Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, and become a fan today because we love fans and they create some of the best sports talk in town, Daddy. You'll enjoy talking to your fellow Cleveland sports fans on the Sports Fix fan page. And if Twitter's your thing, well, you know how we do it. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. It's that simple.
Twitter.com/TheSportsFixCLE, baby.
Chat live with the crew during all your favorite Cleveland sports events, tickets and contests and trivia and so much more. Get with us today, the Sports Fix on social media, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Join the Sports Fix on Facebook and Twitter today.
I'm Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
Welcome in, everybody. We're live on the air, rocking and rolling. Tuesday edition of the Sports Fix here. Veterans Day edition, and a lot going on here. First off, welcome in each and every one of you guys to the Sports Fix. J-Rock, Jerry Myers, welcoming you in, kicking things off here. Another loaded slate. We've got a lot. I'll get into the slate of things here today, but as I said, we are live on the air, live, loaded edition, Veterans Day edition of the Sports Fix. So right off the top, shout out to all of you veterans out there, past, present, and future, helping defend our country, because that's what today's all about, you guys. And matter of fact, I got some individual shout outs I'll give out throughout the show. Mention that right off the bat. I put it out there on the social media. If anybody out there is a vet, would love to hear your name shouted out on the air, I'd love to be the guy to do it. So hit us up. You'll hear me give out the various ways to do it. Oh, I'm thinking I'll say it once or twice during the show today. Hit me up and I'll gladly add you to the list of shout outs throughout the show. Happy Veterans Day. Let's rock and roll with the Sports Fix. We're going to talk Cavs. Cavs with you know what? I'll get into it in detail here in a minute, but I talked about the things yesterday heading into the game about the trip. You can see the lessons being learned. You can see it. And I've been as big of a Kyrie Irving critic as anybody else, but I got some interesting thoughts on him too. Cavaliers come back home in a big way last night. Good victory over a good team last night. Although, I'll tell you what, Anthony Davis didn't have much support at all. We'll talk about that game here coming up in the opening segment. We'll talk some Monday Night Football as well. I got to tell you, I think not that you needed this to prove it, but we all know the Jets are pretty dysfunctional. I think the problem may have been the Jets and not so much Mark Sanchez. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe a combination of them. But boy, Mark Sanchez sure looked like a franchise-level quarterback last night. Although I do wonder if anybody can be plugged into that offense and look like that. But we'll talk about a little Monday Night Football here, and we'll talk about it on the back end as well. Dr. Football Bill Chachkes is going to join us as he does every Tuesday here on the Sports Fix, and we'll talk some Monday Night Football. Browns and Bengals. Browns in first place here in this junction point of the season. We'll look at some of the bigger surprises and disappointments of the first half of the game. So much of that coming up with Dr. Football as we look around the entire slate of the NFL. What else we got? Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. Jeff's going to be with us just about 10-15 minutes from now. Second segment of the show. We'll talk a little bit about the Indians here. He's got some free agency thoughts as we start. Hey, not just our focus, their focus has shifted. I said it yesterday. I don't just expect the Indians to work on some things this winter. I expect the Indians to start doing some things relatively early. I think they start making some hay here before Thanksgiving, whether it's in the trade front, some free agency, and I don't know about spending money. We'll talk about that. But Anyways, we're going to get into all of that here, you guys, so much more as we roll on. We got a lot to get into. Jeff Gorman, Dr. Football, CSU starts playing some hoops last night. All of that and more right here on the Sports Fix. Welcoming you guys, J-Rock with you across the Sports Fix radio network here. That means maybe you're listening to us live on TuneIn and TuneIn's radio app worldwide, on Spreaker and Mixlr and their respective applications. And, of course, if you're listening, don't forget, on Mixlr, you can jump in the Mixlr chat room over there at mixlr.com. Even if you listen on another site, it's a cool ancillary way to be a part of the yeah, you like that word there, conversation piece there over on Mixlr.com. And many of you listening to us live right on the sportsfix.net, the home base for all things Sports Fix, the mothership, as I like to call it, here on the Sports Fix radio network. Welcome in as well, all of you listening, thousands around the world, 24/7 each day on digital delay on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, over on iTunes and on Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, all the podcast places, the different sites that you listen to us live and on delay. Thank you guys so much for being here each and every day. Hopefully that is. And if you're not, welcome in for the very first time here live at noon. We do this Monday through Friday, and we don't do it just to hear the sound of my voice. We prefer that yours is a part of it as well. So do that. Speaking of, as I'm about to give out the phone number, throwback to yesterday's show real quick, I was exactly right about what had happened with the phone line. So my apologies for any of you that tried to call in. I wondered why there weren't anything over the weekend, just any missed calls. Because over the weekend, as people listen, even though we're not on the air, we tend to get a lot of calls throughout the weekend. And then I'll see it all on the caller ID on Monday. And I knew, but I didn't even put two and two together. And I'm glad you guys figured out yesterday. People started telling me the phones were busy as they're trying to call. And I'm like, no, they're not, because I made an outgoing call on this thing this morning. So I know the phones are working. Anyways, I was right when I deduced yesterday on the air what had happened. All I did a week ago, I had switched my payment method because I changed my plan so that I could, at the time, I had a certain number of features that were whatever. I wanted to add more to what I could do so that I could hopefully open up some more phone lines and stuff. So I changed a couple of settings. On my end, I did everything right. What they ended up doing was, I don't know, long story short, I still had our hotline, but it was now a different number. So that's why I could call out, but when you guys called it, anyways, it's fixed. Everything works. 216-539-7535 is the number to call, and it rings and it gets through and everything. I tested it myself. 216-539-7535. Hit us up if you want to give us a call. If you can't, or if you perhaps find the phone lines busy again, which they shouldn't be, let me know if they are. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFix CLE. Email us, TheSportsFix@AOL.com, and we will love to hear from you and read those comments on the air. And as I said, use those as well. Facebook, Twitter, email, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, Twitter at TheSportsFix CLE, email us, TheSportsFix@AOL.com. If you're a vet, let me know. I'll shout you out. A couple of Charles Morgan, Sergeant Charles Morgan in the Army. Charles Easley Jr., Vietnam vet. He's at home, actually injured in a fall at home, and his family thought it would be cool for him to hear us shout him out on the air. So shout out to you, Charles Easley, and Edward Payton of the Marine Corps. All of you guys. I got a few more. I'll give them to you later on in the show. Happy Veterans Day to you guys. Let's roll on. Again, 216-539-7535. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFix CLE. First thing, let's start with a little Cavaliers hoops last night. My son, as you know, yesterday was his birthday. He went and enjoyed him some Cavaliers hooping festivities last night, and it's funny, I didn't go with him. He went, and I told you guys, I mean, I can go whenever. So there was no way that I said, no, you pick one of your friends and you go enjoy it. We can do our thing anytime. So he went and did his thing last night. He comes, he's like, Dad, I gotta tell you, man. He was just told, because he's been there with me, the last few seasons. It's like, man, it's different. I said, of course it is. First off, it's sold out, And he goes, man, not like sold out, but they're not all there. Sold out, and everybody is there. I said, of course. I was watching the game too. He said, yeah, but the presentation. He goes, Dad, the video screen in person. It's just funny hearing the firsthand reaction. He goes, "Oh, it's so big. It looks so good." But anyways, and then the basketball as well, man. He goes, "Man," he goes, "that was fun all the way around." He just had a hell of a time last night. But if you watched the Cavs game, I'll use that to set up talking about the game. It was fun. The way they played, and not just because they won the game, the way they played basketball last night was fun, particularly in the second half, because it bogged down a bit there. They were trailing a bit heading into the half. But, man, I got to tell you, we were talking yesterday, you guys, about the trip and how I thought each game on that 3-game trip, you saw improvement from game to game in certain things. And really, with the neutering of Kyrie Irving is what I call it behind the scenes. The attempts to meld his game in with LeBron, and you've got some obviously some issues that were way overblown, by the way. And let me stop before we're talking about the game. I just remembered somewhere that I wanted to go while we're talking about overblown things in the media. That was one of them right there. Is that whole thing, apparently there's lines in the sand and Kyrie and his troops are on one side of the locker room. Get out of here with that noise. We heard about the Deion Waiters mess from over the weekend and all the mixed up stories about that. I'm going to tell you right now, I've had a few of you hit me up over the last 24 hours about this Kevin Love story. There it is, Bruce. Get out of here with that gaga. I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a stitch of story there. Not one. Yesterday, my blood boiled so fast because I saw, if you go on Facebook, you look on the side, they've got the trending stories. And I saw Kevin Love to leave Cavs. I said, what in the world is this? So I click on it, and it basically congregates all the stories that are being shared on Facebook. I rolled through all of these quote-unquote websites or Facebook pages, which is ridiculous, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that every Facebook page doesn't know what they're talking about. I know my man Bruce has a good one with the morning, but man, be careful. Be careful getting your news off of the Facebook. I'm just telling you right now, man, because I saw Facebook pages with names like NBA News, NBAnews.com, NBA headlines, because you got to realize that on Facebook, on the internet, you can name something anything you want, as long as the name's available. I can go make a website right now called TrueNBAHeadlines.com, and guess what? It's the True NBA Headlines, because that's what I called it, right? Anyways, my point being, there were 10 different variations of this story. They all used the same source as the link story that came from an LA newspaper was the one that I saw. Not newspaper, excuse me. It was not a newspaper. It was an independent internet site. And that was where it originally came from. And then Sam Smith has a quote involved in it, which somehow gives this thing some credibility, which there isn't. There isn't any. With the headline by these quote-unquote news sources that ranged from Love to look at his options to Love tells Cavs he will opt out at end of season. Do you know how many hundreds, if not thousands of people? I know how this works. I get it all the time. People hit me up with the craziest stories and go, man, is it true the Cavs just traded Kyrie Irving? And I'll be like, where'd you hear that? I saw it on Facebook. Because, some people just read the headline or whatever. Or there are some places that go out of their way to make things really hard to tell what's news and what's fake and what's real. People do a good job with some of those phony stories, phony articles, phony actual websites and everything. But 10 different breakdowns of this thing. And like I said, some of them, this is not me exaggerating. The exact words that they put in their headline. NBA News, that was the name of this one site. Headline, Kevin Love tells Cavs he's going to opt out of his contract, wants to go to LA. Listen, Kevin Love played college on the West Coast. Thank you. That's the only part of this story that people took as fact and they created a story out of it. For years, the story has been he wanted to go play out in L.A. I'm just curious. He still hasn't made his way to L.A. yet. I'm pretty sure he just had the opportunity to force himself a trade anywhere he wanted to go in the NBA. And he didn't exactly push that hard to go play with Kobe and the I'm telling you, what's going to be the modern version of the Harlem Globetrotters. They're just going to travel around, see Kobe play, watch him win 22, 23 games this year. Ridiculous what they got over there, because they're waiting for salary cap room for next year. But this, Lord knows we know about that, by the way. But this story is nothing